Hi, welcome to Prime Recap. During a domination mission, an alien falls to Earth and is met by talking animals who try to help him get back home, as well as prevent the entire planet from being destroyed. Today we will recap the story of the movie, Jungle Beat, from 2020. In the middle of the forest, different species of animals live together in harmony and rest while waiting for the sunrise. In the morning, Monkey wakes up excited, as he sees a large bunch of bananas ready to be devoured. The monkey will then enlist the help of his friend, Trunk, to throw him in, and the elephant helps him reach his breakfast. Before eating, Monkey distributes the food to the other animals in the jungle and, in the end, runs out of bananas. Frustrated at not being able to satisfy his hunger, the poor monkey begins to complain, and in that instant he realizes that he has become able to speak. The primate is excited by the news and soon discovers that Trunk has also acquired this ability. Suddenly, the elephant hears a suspicious noise and crawls through the forest with her big ears to the ground in order to detect where the sound is coming from. A few minutes later, the duo finds a talking bush, but soon discovers that there is actually a creature hiding inside. After much insistence by the animals, Fenip decides to show his face and reveals himself to be an alien. At this point, the two friends become terrified and let out terrifying screams as they run through the forest. After the outbreak, they return to offer help to the creature, which turns out to have come from a very distant planet and is now trying to find a way back home. In an attempt to help him in his mission, Trunk throws him up, but Fenip ends up falling right next to her and the elephant realizes that she will need to use much more force if she wants to send him home. This time, Fenip does manage to fly further, but he cannot avoid falling and ends up crashing to the ground again. The little monster pulls out a speech capsule from inside its gelatinous body, and Monkey soon realizes that it is that artifact that is giving him the ability to speak. At that moment, the monkey is overcome with euphoria and goes for a walk in the forest with the capsule in his hands. By simply bringing it close to the other animals, they are able to communicate. After all his friends have acquired the gift of speech, Monkey returns the artifact to Fenip. Upon seeing the alien, Humph approaches to investigate him and soon begins to impose his rules on the newcomer. Fenip then tells him that he came from a planet called Skaldron. However, he can only return home when he finishes the task of conquering that planet. The animals encourage him to go ahead with his mission, and the alien climbs up on a rock to make his domination speech. Just then, a frog approaches and steals his gun. Then an ostrich comes running after her eggs, which are trying to escape from the nest. However, none of these distractions stopped Fenip from following through with his plan, for his new friends are around to support him. After the speech, the young alien is congratulated by the group and is so moved that something inside him begins to glow. Suddenly, the gun that was swallowed by the frog goes off and the animals panic. They begin to scream and run everywhere to hide. Amidst the chaos, Monkey is thrown upwards and ends up falling next to Fenip. To his surprise, the beehive that was hanging from the tree falls into his lap, and everyone has to run away to avoid being stung by the bees. Rocky is so scared that he doesn't even avoid the rocks that appear in his path, and after destroying them with his horn, a cloud of dust is formed, which serves to throw off the insects. Now that he has conquered the planet, Fenip must return home. However, his spaceship is lost a few miles away and, due to the crash, is no longer able to fly. Therefore, he has no way to return home. However, the young alien can use a beacon that is on his ship to get some members of his people to come to Earth to pick him up. So the whole group decides to embark on this adventure to help their new friend find the vehicle. After a long search, the mother ostrich returns to her nest with her eggs, but soon realizes that one of them is missing and has to go out again in search of her. Meanwhile, the four friends continue their adventure and Monkey asks if there are any bananas in Skaldron. Then Fenip reveals that it does and says that the bananas on his planet are gigantic, which makes the monkey curious to go there. On the way to the ship, the group encounters a herd of buffalo who, upon seeing them, begin to sing happily. Suddenly, the leader of the gang appears and tries to stop them from going on. However, Fenip ignores him and continues on his way together with his friends. Following their leader's orders, the herd forms a wall to block the way. However, the alien has no difficulty in crossing it with his gelatinous body, and Trunk goes after him, making room for the rest of the group. After having his authority challenged, the buffalo feels threatened, for he is afraid of losing his position as leader of the herd. However, Monkey tries to reassure him and manages to convince the creature to let them pass. Before leaving, Trunk shouts the word, "Stampede," which causes the buffalo to begin a disorderly run, destroying everything in their path. The quartet continues their walk when suddenly the egg that escaped from the nest appears and begins to follow them. At that moment, the baby ostrich is born and is already in search of a great adventure. The young creature is happy to discover that it has wings and tries to fly, but soon realizes that it is not capable of doing so. Soon after the crash, her mother appears and tries to console her daughter in the face of the harsh reality that ostriches cannot fly. However, the little one is not convinced when she hears this and decides to make another attempt, but this time her mother manages to catch her before she hits the ground. Seeing the bird hugging her chick, Fenip feels his heart warmed again and continues on his way as the mother ostrich takes her daughter back to the nest. Several meters away from there, the grumpy hedgehog tries to find his friends. The creature got lost on the way and is now no longer able to speak, which indicates that he is a long way from the speech capsule. Humph has been trying for a long time to get off Elan, but no matter which way he goes, the destination is always the same, and the hedgehog ends up climbing, over and over again, on the same rock. After a few hours, he finally manages to roll out of there and leaves some marks on the vegetation, similar to those left by aliens. While walking through the savannah, Fenip asks why that mother squeezed her daughter, and at that moment his friends discover that there are no hugs in Skaldron. Then the alien explains that on his planet there is no demonstration of affection of any kind, and relationships are generally very cold and distant. The only way to feel special in Skaldron is by conquering planets. The more planets a Skaldronian has in his collection, the more respect he receives from his fellows. Upon hearing this, Trunk remembers that this is the first planet that Fenip has conquered, and soon realizes that the poor guy is in need of a hug. However, the blue creature refuses this show of affection and continues on its way. Suddenly, Monkey notices that the ground begins to shake, and soon everyone realizes that the buffalo herd is approaching. The animals are running at high speed, and if they stay in their path, the group will probably be trampled. Trunk then asks Fenip and the monkey to climb on his back, but the creature does not accept help. Luckily, just as they are about to be run over, the buffalo stop their run and start grazing quietly. Now that the danger is past, Monkey asks why Fenip refuses help, and the alien says that he doesn't need help from earthly creatures. Finally, he asks his friends to leave him alone so that he can find his ship on his own. When he regains his speech, Humph realizes that he is approaching his group and continues his walk until he finds the spaceship. As he approaches the vehicle, he is amazed by the shiny substance that is coming out of it and decides to taste it. At this time, the ship begins to float and a hologram appears to request updates from Fenip, since he has been on Earth for 2 months. Although he has asked his friends to leave, Fenip is happy to find that they have decided to stay by his side. The sun is almost down and the group nestles down to sleep, leaving the alien with his heart warmed once again. That night, Fenip dreams of the moment when his father and his colleagues recognize him for having accomplished his mission and he is named as a Skaldronian hero. However, the young alien knows that when Grogan arrives on the planet, he will want to take his friends as prisoners to put on the Conquest Hall. At this point in the dream, Fenip wakes up scared and decides to leave his friends behind. Monkey is dreaming about a banana when he bites his own tail and wakes up. Then Trunk also wakes up and is startled to realize that his blue friend is no longer there. They wonder where Fenip has gone and soon notice that they are no longer able to speak, which makes them realize that the alien is quite far away. So they decide to follow his tracks in the grass to try to find him. After a few hours of walking, Fenip finally finds his ship and receives the message left by his father's hologram. Now his mission is to find the transmitter to send a signal of his location. In this way, his relatives will be able to find him. Since it has never reached this point before, the creature needs to consult the domination manual to find out how to use the flare. He is surprised to discover that there are numerous warnings regarding the use of the equipment, for if the transmitter is used before the planet has been successfully conquered, Fenip will be a disgrace to his people. While walking through the forest, the 3 friends are surprised by the arrival of Humph. The hedgehog has seen Grogan's message and tries to warn the animals about the invasion. However, since they are far away from the capsule, none of them can speak, and Humph's only alternative is to draw in the sand to make the trio understand what he means. Still, his friends are unable to decode the message. After reading the entire invasion manual, Fenip discovers that the only thing he needs to do to use the transmitter is to push the big red button next to the panel of his ship. As he does so, a strong wave of energy is dissipated and the gale causes the drawing that Humph took a long time to carve in the sand to be erased. At that moment, the animals see a strong blue light and decide to follow it. What they could not imagine is that all this luminosity was being emitted by a giant spaceship. A few minutes after the signal is given, the Skaldronians appear and Fenip is greeted by his father, who congratulates him on having conquered his first planet. As the animals approach, they hear Grogan asking about the earthly creatures that are to be taken as a trophy. The only thing left to do to complete your conquest is to launch your star into the sky. In this way, Fenip will mark that planet forever. Grogan is very proud to say that he has already launched 999 stars and was about to conquer the 1000th planet when he received the call from his son. However, seeing Fenip unsure about launching his star, the alien realizes that he has not been able to conquer the Earth, and the young alien explains that he sent the signal only so that his people would come and get him, since his ship crashed and stopped working. When he discovers that his son has called him to a rescue mission, Grogan is furious and decides that he will conquer the Earth himself. In this way, he will be able to complete his 1000th victory. In an attempt to save the planet and his friends, Fenip decides to lie about the earthly creatures and claims that on that planet live the scariest monsters he has ever seen. Luckily, the young alien manages to convince him that Earth is not worth invading, and Grogan states that he will send his son straight to the next planet instead of sending him home. As they watch their friend leave, the animals remain in hiding and lament the fact that Fenip needs to be humiliated to protect them. Upon entering the ship, the blue alien must face the judgment and disapproval of his people, who do not hide the fact that they are disappointed in him. As the ship is about to take off, Grogan begins a survey in order to decide the next planet where his son will be sent. However, everyone is surprised to discover that some Earth creatures have hidden themselves in the containment capsule and speak out in favor of Fenip. In an attempt to get the young alien taken back home instead of being sent on a new mission, Monkey claims that Fenip has conquered Earth and they are his prisoners. Therefore, since the planet belongs to the young blue alien, he can decide to release the animals he has captured. In order to prevent the group from being freed, Grogan claims that that planet has not been conquered by Fenip, because its star has not yet been released into the sky. So the alien grabs his gun and claims that he will conquer the Earth himself, but Trunk manages to steal the laser beam and accidentally shoots it into the floor of the ship. After destroying it, the elephant ends up falling and Grogan covers the hole before any of his people are sucked under. To avoid falling, the animal uses its powerful trunk to blow a strong gust of air, and in this way manages to land safely. Fenip's star also ended up falling out of the ship and ended up next to Mama Ostrich's nest. The bird is trying to console her daughter, who is frustrated since she found out that she will never be able to fly. Realizing that his son has lost his star, Grogan rushes to launch his own into the sky, but Monkey manages to steal it and steps aside so that the alien can't get it back. However, Grogan throws a small floating disc at the monkey and manages to get him to release the star. Then they are both sucked out of the tunnel and thrown into space. Once outside the ship, Monkey again steals the object, and Grogan must go after him to retrieve it. Meanwhile, the security guards are about to arrest Fenip, but Rocky attacks them to protect him and Humph prevents other guards from approaching. The young alien knows that the only way to save the planet is to launch his star, but it is lost in the forest. Trunk is looking for the object when he finds it next to the nest and begins to think of a way to return it to his friend. Meanwhile, Monkey is captured and Grogan manages to get his star back, but ends up dropping the crystal when the monkey uses his tail to tickle him. The monster then turns on the thrusters of his jetpack to go after the star, but Monkey is insistent and will not give up attacking him, even if it puts his life at risk. When she realizes the importance of returning that artifact to Fenip, Mama Ostrich advises Trunk to throw it at the ship. However, the elephant knows that this is a risky maneuver, as the star could end up falling back. So the nestling offers to take her, and even against her will, the ostrich decides to support her daughter, because she knows that flying is her greatest dream. However, before it could reach the ship, gravity begins to pull it back down, and Trunk must use all its breath to blow the chick up and help it pick up momentum to reach the vehicle. After a long dispute, Grogan finally manages to get rid of Monkey and imprison him inside a floating probe. At that moment, unexpectedly, the buffalo come running in a stampede and run over the alien, who can barely stand up after the attack. Then the monkey uses his tail as a propeller to fly to the ship, and Fenip manages to get his star back. Then he uses a floating disc to carry it to the launcher. Just then, Grogan manages to get up and, with the help of the thrusters, quickly reaches the ship. After freeing himself from the attacks of the Earthlings, the alien distracts his son so that the guards can reach him. Soon after, he sends his star into the sky and officially becomes the conqueror of Earth, completing his 1000th planet. The future of Earth seems to be lost when Fenip reveals that those animals possess a secret weapon capable of preventing his father from conquering the planet. The young alien claims that this weapon is more powerful than any weapon ever made in Skaldron, and suddenly his heart begins to glow. Next, Fenip hugs his father and states that this is the secret weapon. Immediately, Grogan's cold heart also begins to be warmed and he cries with emotion. The alien asks what his son is doing to him, and Fenip reveals that a tight hug is the Earthling's way of making those they love feel special. Upon hearing these words, Grogan gives in to that tender feeling and they are both completely overcome with emotion. Overcome with a happiness he has never felt before, Grogan feels the need to share this feeling with all his companions and rushes to embrace them. At this point, the Skaldronians go into despair, because they are not used to any kind of demonstration of affection. Since the pilots have abandoned the control panel, the ship begins to crash, but the little ostrich manages to fly it and proves to everyone that she can fly. A few hours later, all the aliens have been infected by the power of the hug, and Grogan removes his star from the sky, allowing his son to conquer his first planet. Then the alien says that he will take Fenip home and states that Skaldron is the 1000th planet he intends to conquer. For this mission, Grogan asks his son for help. Together, they will share the Earthling's secret weapon with all members of their people. Before leaving, Fenip distributes some gifts to his friends and hands the speech capsule to Trunk. The baby ostrich gets one of the floating discs so she can fly whenever she wants, and Monkey also gets a wish. The next day, when breakfast time arrives, Fenip returns to Earth bringing one of Skaldron's giant bananas for his friend, and this officially becomes the happiest day of the monkey's life. So what did you think of this movie? Leave it in the comments below. And if you liked the video, please like and subscribe for more movie recaps. See you next time.